Here's the biggest lie most people believe: your house is the best investment you'll ever make. But what if I told you that's simply not true? In fact, for majority of people, their house is not an investment at all. It's actually a long-term liability disguised as an asset. Now, don't get me wrong, buying a house is often necessary. It provides shelter, stability, and a sense of belonging. But confusing necessity with investment is where millions of people get misled, often by banks, realtors, or even family. Today, I am breaking down why your house is not an investment. So, real world example of how profits disappear once you run the numbers. Who should treat a house like an investment and who absolutely would not? And finally, why buying a house still matters, just not for the reasons you've been told. So let's start with the definition of what is an investment. An investment is something that pays you money. Stocks pay dividend, rental properties give you rent, business generates cash flow. Your primary residence does the opposite. It takes money out of your pocket. Let's run a simple example. Imagine you buy a house worth $500,000 and you put down 20%, which is $100,000. You borrow 400,000 with a 25-year amortization on a mortgage at 5%. Over 25 years, you'll pay roughly $300,000 in interest alone. Now, let's add property tax. That's $3,500 a year, which is about 87,500 for 25 years. Maintenance, rule of thumb is 1% of the home value per year. That's 5,000 a year and 125,000 for the 25 years. Insurance at $1,500 a year, and again, you guessed it, 37,500 for the 25 years. So the total cost of owning that $500,000 house is not 500,000. It's close to 1,050,000 over 25 years. Now, here's the kicker. Let's say your house doubled in value to $1,000,000 after 25 years. People will say, see, you made $500,000. But after subtracting interest, taxes, insurance, and upkeep, your profit might be far smaller than you thought. And if you still sell it, you need another house in the same inflated market. Let me explain this with an example. So, let's say there's a guy in Surrey, his name is Daniel, and he bought a condo in 2008 for 350,000. By 2023, the house was worth 650,000. People told him he was a genius, but here's what most people don't see. Over 15 years, he's paid over 180,000 in mortgage interest, $500 in monthly strata fee, which is like $90,000, and then 45 grand in property taxes, repairs of 25,000. So the hidden cost is about $340,000. So yes, his house went up by 300,000, but he spent 340,000 keeping it. On paper, it looks like a win, but in reality, the numbers tell a different story. So the question is, who should treat a house as an investment? Now, there are exceptions to this case, and when buying a house can be an investment. For example, rental properties. If you buy a duplex and rent out half of it, your tenant pays the mortgage. That's cash flow, that's investment. Okay, another thing is house hacking, like renting out a basement suite. So basically, Airbnb a spare room, and yeah, house now generates income. Flippers, skilled renovators who buy undervalued home, fix them up, and then resell quickly. Now, these guys are running a business. And then there's the developers and landholders. Like they'll buy land in up and coming areas, holding until it's rezoned. For these people, a house can be an investment because it's actually producing income or strategic value. But let's be clear, most people fall into the other category, and for them, a house is not an investment. Here's who should avoid that mindset: first time homebuyers. If you're stretching every dollar to get on the property ladder, but you can barely afford groceries afterwards, that's not an investment. That's gambling with your future. Families looking for stability. If you plan to raise kids in a house for 20 years, stop calling it an investment. It's your home, and that's perfectly fine. Then there's fear of missing out buyers. In Vancouver, people lined up in 2016 And lately, up till 2021, to buy pre-sale condos, convinced prices always go up. Many saw values drop by 20% when the market cooled. Suddenly, their investment looked more like a liability. And let's not forget the opportunity cost. If instead of buying a $500,000 house, you invested $100,000 down payment in an index fund at an 8% annual return in 25 years, it could be worth over 680,000. That's money working for you without that leaky roof, without property taxes or the furnace breaking down. Now, let's balance this conversation. A home is still a necessity, and I'm not saying that you should never buy a place that you can call it your own. Why? Simple answer: stability. You're not at the mercy of the landlords. You control it. You want to renovate it, go for it. And I also feel like mortgage can be like a forced saving. While it's expensive, you do build equity over time. And of course, there's peace of mind. It's a foundation for your family's life. The mistake is thinking of this necessity as a profit engine. Think of your house like a car. Nobody buys a Toyota expecting it to double in value, but you buy it because you need it. A house should be the same: security first, wealth building second. So here's the big question: why are people so convinced that house is an investment? Because it benefits everyone except you. So if you look at the banks, they earn a massive profit from a 25-year mortgage. Governments, they collect property taxes every year, no matter what. And every time you buy and sell, there's the property transfer tax that also gets applied. And although in certain cases it does not, but for the most people it does. Realtors, I'm one, and we earn commission whether the market is up or down, doesn't matter. And of course, media loves the hype housing market because it gets all the clicks. I'm like, just imagine if you come across internet an article like house prices fall down by 20%. I bet you're going to click on that thing and just read it no matter what. So everyone wants you to believe housing equals wealth. And yes, for some it does, but for the most, it's a very expensive way of living. So let me leave you with this. Another example: my friend bought a house in 1995 for $200,000. It seems like a joke, but yes, today it's worth 1.2 million. She looks like a millionaire, but here's the truth: if she sells, where does she go? Every other house in the neighborhood also went up sixfold. To downsize, she still pays $800,000. Her so called profit exists only on paper. That's the reality most people miss. Your house may appreciate, but your cost of living rises with it. It's not a stock you can sell and walk away from. It's a shelter, and that's okay. So here's my final thought: should you buy a house? Absolutely. If you're ready for it, if it fits your life, and if you see it as a necessity. But should you buy a house thinking it's the best investment you'll ever make? I'm like, no, no. Your wealth should come from assets that actually pay you: business, stocks, real estate that produces income, being commercial property. Your home, that's your safe space, your foundation for your lifestyle. And if you understand the difference, you won't be misled by the myth that has trapped millions of people thinking that their mortgage is their retirement plan. Because in the end, the best investment you can make isn't in walls around you, it's in your freedom to choose how you live. So if you found this video eye-opening, hit like and subscribe and share this with someone who still thinks their house is an investment, and let's change the way people see and think about real estate.